guess that on a scale of 1 to 10, if we were to ask Ian Bowen how prepared he is for Doomsday, he'd be at about an 8.
Hey, y'all, you're listening to the Dutton Rules Yellowstone podcast. We are headed into season 2, and I am excited to bring Billy Dukes in. But before we get there, I just want to encourage y'all, staff at tasteofcountry.com is where you can always leave your comments, the trivia question, and just if you have any additional insight. Also, we do these videos on YouTube as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But if you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notifications button because we also do recap videos. And when we drop them, you can be the first to know. So without further ado, hey, Mr. Billy Dukes.
Hello, Adison. How are you?
I am good. I'm nice and sun-kissed from the California sun, and now I'm in a sweatshirt in Texas. So we're hitting all spectrums.
A little bit of a disappointing view from your camera angle today, but we'll take it.
I know. Beggars can't be choosers. Let's step into, for those who have been listening for a while now, we still will get to the trivia question, but we're going to do that at the end. Now we're kind of just switching things up on everyone. I'm going to start this episode by admitting I did not watch episode 1 of season 2. I thought we were doing a fun little, I know, where is the cast now? Adison went from being over-prepared season 1 to now I'm starting behind the rest of everyone. So I'm so sorry, Billy. I must admit my flaws.
You came to film a Yellowstone podcast without having watched Yellowstone, is what you're saying.
Technically, yes, but I did come ready for the second half of this podcast, which I thought was going to be the full podcast. So I came prepared. I wasn't here to talk about Summer I Turned Pretty or The Bachelor.
Right.
No, I had my head in the game. It was just in the wrong lane.
Well, you got some major catching up to do because not only are you behind an episode, there's 2 episodes of Yellowstone airing on CBS on Sunday, this coming Sunday, and Lawman Bass Reeves prepares. So clear your calendar. Hopefully you got nothing to do your first week back in Texas because this is where you are. This is who you are now.
Yep. If you need me, you know where to find me. I will be just staring at a television. Okay. Well, since I did not watch it, and I'm sure some other people, may be listening to this podcast and didn't hear it either, Billy, I will let you do kind of the heavy lifting on season 2, episode 1. What are the main important takeaways?
Well, the most important thing here was not the resolution to John Dutton's health crisis. You missed that. Okay. Was not Beth talking about building a 200-mile moat around the Yellowstone with her boss, Bob. It was not the introduction of a new character named Cowboy, who apparently knows Walker. Cowboy, super fascinating character. It was the Bunkhouse Boys. There was a lot of Bunkhouse Boys in this episode, specifically a big fight at the bar, and Rip literally lets a bull loose in the middle of a bar. This is a classic Yellowstone scene, and I want to point out that our girl Lainey Wilson kind of is right in the middle of this scene because it's her song. This is the first time a Lainey Wilson song is used on Yellowstone.
Oh, wow.
It's the backdrop for this scene. What happens is the Yellowstone boys all go to the bar after a night out. Actually, this new character, Cowboy, convinces them all to play cowboy poker, which is when a bunch of cowboys sit in the bull ring around a table, and then they let a bull loose. Last person sitting at the table wins. Avery ends up winning this game of chicken.
Heck
Not your kind of game?
I had never actually even heard of it, but interesting.
So after that, they decide to go to the bar, and Jimmy and Avery are actually having a pretty good time. It kind of looks like they're maybe going to kind of get along together pretty well. But someone tries to hit on Jimmy. Jimmy basically tells them where to shove it, starts a huge fight, and all the Bunkhouse boys get pretty roughed up. I mean, they're all nursing their wounds. Rip finds out about it, loads a bull into the back of the trailer, opens the double wide doors at the bar, and the bull just sort of saunters in. And it's brilliant how this is shot because there's this quiet in the bar before the chaos where people start to realize there's a giant multi-1,000-pound animal just a few feet away from them. Then they all come pouring out of the doors of the bar, and Jimmy and the Bunkhouse boys identify which ones beat them up, and they start to beat them up with baseball bats. really kind of get their vengeance there. Yeah, it really takes a turn there, Adison.
Oh my gosh.
It becomes kind of like this wonderful revenge, like, oh, wow, y'all serious about this. The one thing is Walker will not fight here. He refuses to fight for Rip, and that's going to be a problem later on.
So far, Walker's not the antagonist as much.
He isn't, and you really start to get a feel for kind of how reluctant he is now to be part of the Yellowstone, especially as he's talking to this new guy named Cowboy. Cowboy is a day worker who comes traveling up to the Yellowstone, and apparently he and Walker know each other from a past life, so they sort of talk. Walker tries to tell him this ranch is not like any other he's ever seen before, and he wants to leave. And we're starting to get a feeling that maybe Walker is going to try to find a way out on his own. That's foreshadowing if you've not yet seen all of season 2.
Here's the question, though. Couldn't Rip have gotten in trouble for letting a bull loose in a restaurant or a bar that's not his? Like, let's put that into current day.
You thinking that Rip should have to answer to the law to a certain degree here?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I can't go downtown Austin and let a bull loose in Broken Spoke and think, oh, I'm going to get away with that. Like, there's not going to be any repercussion.
Well, the reason that Jimmy doesn't think it's going to be any issue when he tells this guy to screw off is because he literally says, we're with the Yellowstone. No one's going to mess with us. I think Rip kind of has the same ethos, and he even tells the barkeep, hey, you should have given me a call or had your bodyguards break up this fight before my guys got tuned up. So I don't think he's all that worried about it. They get the bull back. They retrieve the bull because Lord knows they're not going to leave their merchandise in the middle of the bar.
Right.
But
right.
I wouldn't expect any repercussions from this particular incident.
Were there any don't worry about it in episode 1?
Well, there was a lot of kind of small scale plot advances, I guess you could call them. This is like the tightening of the wrench a little bit in a number of different platforms. First of all, we find out that Jamie is having some pretty major regrets about some decisions he's made with Christina. They start with them the morning they're kind of cohabitating together, and she's getting ready for work. And Jamie's starting to have, trying to think of the best way to phrase this without sounding like a chauvinistic pig, but he's starting to realize that maybe he wasn't leading with his head. And he's starting to regret that. And it's just a really familiar look for Jamie as like he's trying to sort of be the nice guy to his new girlfriend and also sort of thinking, ooh, how do I get out of this relationship? And she's my campaign manager. So that starts there. We learn a little bit more about Rainwater's plan to annex the land that he's buying from Dan Jenkins into the reservation. There's a pretty good conversation between Beth and Bob about buying land around the Yellowstone Ranch, which is something they talk about in future seasons as well. That's sort of the start of that. And Beth sort of challenges Bob to do it. And there's just a lot of Beth and Bob love at this point in the relationship.
So that's a question I have for you is we leave season 1 with Dan Jenkins being hung. So is Dan Jenkins alive?
Oh, yeah, I guess I should have mentioned that because I knew that was going to be the case. Well, I mean,
right.
Well, I mean, I guess I sort of operate in this world where I assume that even if people are watching episode to episode, maybe they're Google searching ahead, and that is a little bit unfair. But yeah, we never see Dan Jenkins get cut down, but he apparently gets cut down because actually John has a visit with him in a little cafeteria, and they chat, and he says, next time I'm not going to let anybody cut you down. So yeah, Dan Jenkins lives, and he's fine. He's still going forward with his business plan. He doesn't seem to care one iota about
remorse.
The threats. Yeah. We did get a pretty good Monica scene. And I think at this episode, I'm reminded why people don't like Monica, because she's just such a Debbie Downer. And she really is in this. And I want to be nice about this, but she goes into the university to try to get that university job that was offered to her. And the professor tells her, well, we've already allocated that money for Native American studies. We can give you an American history job talking about Columbus. And of course, she has some issues with Columbus, as she should. I think she refers to him as the person who introduced genocide to a new continent for the very first time. But he gives her the job. She doesn't even really seem all that happy about it. Like, she kind of went in there looking for the job, and then she kind of makes it sound like she's doing him a favor for the job. Like, you would think like a thank you and a handshake would be appropriate. And it kind of ends, she's just sort of just down about the whole experience, just like staring at him with these long silent stares. And it's like, girl, you just got a university job. You should be pretty happy. Go celebrate. Get a glass of wine or something. Dang.
It's almost like nothing is good enough.
This is the Monica we're living in. She's giving very Debbie Downer vibes at this point.
Now I understand why people started not liking Monica. I mean, I understood why I didn't like Monica at the end, but obviously I didn't start as early.
Do you want me to spoil the John Dutton health resolution for you?
Yeah, I think you need to, be for the sake of everyone else who's already watched it and done their due diligence. And yes, spoil it.
So at the beginning of the episode, there's a veterinarian trailer on the ranch, because there's a lot of cowboy things happening in this episode. It looks like they're giving the bulls or the cattle vaccines, or maybe doing some castration or some impregnating. I'm not sure what kind of stuff they're doing specifically with them, but there's just a lot of cowboy stuff. At one point, Jimmy has his hand really deep up a bull's or a cow's butt. That's just a lot going on.
I ain't changing my profession anytime soon.
Yeah. Like remember the piece of equipment? Remember when he goes down to the 4-6's ranch and he meets his to-be fiance and she gives him the piece of equipment? That makes another reoccurrence. And Jimmy's going to be charged. Jimmy and Avery are going to be in charge of operating that piece of equipment. Like, it's just it's a hands-on episode, you might say. All that said, they get to the end, and John is sort of just watching this all happen, and he faints. He goes down to the ground. He's about to pass out. They scoop him up and bring him into the vet trailer, and she whips up. She has a scanning tool of some sort, an X-ray or a CAT scan or something, and he admits he has colon cancer. He thinks it's the colon cancer. And she says, John, if it was the colon cancer, you'd be shitting blood, not vomiting, or blood wouldn't be coming from your mouth. It ends up being an ulcer that's ruptured. He has 20 minutes until he's going to bleed out. So they have to cauterize a ruptured ulcer in a vet trailer with no anesthesia, because everything she has is for cattle. That would kill him. So they have to cut him open there with nothing and then repair it. And then they call the helicopter, and off he goes. It's grisly. It's a grisly scene.
Wow.
It also sort of answers... It answers a key point of confusion here about John Dutton's health. Because I've kind of battled with people about his cancer. Because some people would say that his cancer came back and he had cancer twice. I've had other people say he's never had cancer. It was just the ruptured ulcer. So he had cancer, and the cancer was removed, and then he got this ulcer that ruptured. So 2 different medical episodes. He thought it was the same, but they ended up being 2 very different things that he had to deal with. A lot of confusion about that.
Yeah, confusion. And poor guy, it's like once he's down, you have another thing that you're dealing with.
I think he's pretty good health-wise for the rest of this season, if I'm not mistaken. Like, things get a little prickly there at the end of season 3 for him in some pretty high-profile ways, but season 2, I think he's in pretty good shape. Yeah, if I'm right, if I'm remembering right, that's the case. This is a good episode, Adison.
Dang, I am excited to watch all the episodes I need to watch.
Are we going to have to go back and catch up again next week? Like, you're like, oh, I got more questions about episode 1. Yeah, you'll have something.
Yeah, I probably will. But I'll somehow finagle it into episode 2 and 3. Don't worry.
I'm debating if I want to change the trivia question because there's something else that I want to talk about. But you know what? I think I'm going to wait till next week.
Okay.
Because the other thing I want to talk about was going to be my trivia question, but we can talk about it next week after the trivia. But it was the ultimate one of these, like, I'm finding now that Taylor Sheridan planted all of these seeds super early that bloomed much, much later. And there was another really, really big one in this episode as it pertains to Monica. And we can talk about that next week, though. It'll be the trivia question here when we get to it in a few minutes. Let's talk about the cast. The cast members of... Now, I just focused on Yellowstone. Did you go expand to the whole Yellowstone universe?
No. Wait.
Okay.
I just focused on the Yellowstone cast. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Okay. Great. So you didn't look into like Harrison Ford.
No.
1923. No. Okay.
No.
I know you keep really close tabs on...
I just...
on Spencer.
Michelle
you probably
Randolph.
Know where he is day to day. Yeah.
Brandon, yeah. Actually, he was just in Venice Beach. No, actually, I don't think he really posts on social media. I don't follow him, and I think it was because the fact that I'm like, you don't really post. I'm not interested. Michelle Randolph, though, big fan. If you're listening to this, please come on our podcast.
I've noticed, I've learned kind of recently that there's some country artists. We knew some country artists were big fans, but I found out Ronnie Dunn's a big fan of Yellowstone. Darius Rucker, Thomas Rhett.
I knew that.
Ernest is a big fan. We knew Carrie Underwood was. There's a lot of artists who watch just about every week.
You know my idea.
We'll get there. Don't spoil it. Let's get to some new episodes of Yellowstone before we start bringing our A-list ideas. All right. Well, this is a cast catch-up, right?
Yes.
We're catching up on the cast members what I'm up to.
Yes, what they've been up to. I'm kind of thinking we need to save Rip, a.k.a. Cole Hauser, for the end. Because he's my favorite of what he's been up to. So I think we cover other people first and then him, if you're down.
Okay. Well, you start. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll start with Luke Grimes. He's probably one of the cast members who's been doing the most. He's now transferred. That's not the correct word. He sang, I think, did he ever sing on the show? No. He never sang
He had songs. His songs were used, but I don't think his character actually sings.
Okay. Well, he's ventured into his country music career as an artist. He just recently put out on October 20th, so quite literally 10 days ago, his first EP called Pain Pills or Pews. I didn't get to see him during CMA Fest, but I knew that he played in Nashville at Ole Red, which is Blake Shelton's bar. Yep. So I've never gotten to see him live, but he has I'd say his sound is very, would you say almost like a Zach Bryan, or it like has some grit and rasp to it?
It's more Americana than what you might think of as country. Zach Bryan's a pretty good comparison, but I did a sort of a real-time first reaction review of this EP on my Twitter page at Billy Dukes, and I think it's decent, but he's still not quite there yet. Like, some of the songs are pretty good. A couple are, like the first song, No Horse to Ride, is a decent song. His vocals aren't great. It's not a great introduction to his vocals. It kind of shows his limitations there. But then he comes with a song called Hold On that's much more engaging. The arrangement's really good. A super strong steel guitar. There's a Nicole Gallion co-write called Ghost of Who We Are that is a really strong ballad. But then it ends with a couple that are kind of like, meh, average at best. So I think there's still some growth to do there from Luke.
I wonder if actors and actresses think, because I feel like, gosh, Disney Channel is like this, where every Selena Gomez, and I'm not downing any of these people, are like a Miley Cyrus. Yes, I think that they can sing now, but I feel like Disney just pumped people. Like, okay, if you're an actress, you all of a sudden become a singer, and whether you're good or not. I wonder if actors feel that same way of like, oh, I did, like, my character on Yellowstone's really, like, I have such a fandom that is that going to translate into music that they will follow whether you're good or not? I don't know.
I think if like Luke had seen my comments or had heard that review of his EP, he might have thought it was a pretty fair. Like, I feel like he is like, he would understand that he has a ways to go. Like, he's still new to this business. He's getting back into it. Like, he's not a brilliant, like, that's his B gig right now. He's not a brilliant singer songwriter, but he's working hard at it. And there's a lot of potential for him to get better. Like, I think he's honest about who he is at this juncture there. That's my takeaway from him. He seems like a pretty humble dude.
Were you, I can't remember, I know Evan Paul with our Taste of Country Nights radio show interviewed him. Was that in studio or was that Zoom?
No, that was a Zoom interview.
Okay, I didn't know if you were part of that. I know he talked music because we mentioned that on this podcast.
Yeah, we have a music-centric interview that we're just kind of sitting on with him for now. He also has a tour coming in November.
Yes, I actually wrote that down. Yes. His wife on the show, Monica, aka Kelsey Asbiel, she's really not been up to much other than she made her Met Gala debut back in May, but that's been a hot minute. I couldn't really find anything that has she been up to something?
She is going to be in a movie called Don't Move. It's a horror thriller, currently in post-production, and it's got some decent names attached to it. I think Raimi Productions is Sam Raimi. Yep, indeed it is. Sam Raimi, who's a well-known actor. I thought there was a well-known co-star with her as well. She's starring Finn Wittrock, who was in American Horror Story and a couple of other different things. There's a trailer out for it now. There's no date on when that's going to be released, but yeah, she has made a horror thriller called Don't Move, and I think if you follow her on Instagram, you'll see some of the photos and takeaways from that. It looks good. I mean, the movie, I'm not a big horror guy, so I don't know about the movie, but yeah, certainly the pictures I saw look very good.
I don't know why I quite literally... It's on her Instagram? Anyways, I won't spend that time doing that, but I didn't see it.
You know who else has a movie that is out that is actually really good? Kelly Riley, Beth Dutton. Yes. She stars in a movie called A Haunting in Venice. Kenneth Branagh is also with her. If you are a Agatha Christie type reader, you'll recognize the name Hercule Poirot. I never figured out how to pronounce that. He's the star of the movie, or it's one of his detective movies. Hercule Poirot is a detective. Kelly Riley is one of the stars of the movie. It is a super thriller. No way my wife will ever watch it with me, but it's gotten good reviews, 75% so far at Rotten Tomatoes. And I can tell you, my parents went and saw it. They said it was tremendous.
Oh, okay. Good review from the parents.
John
What's
and Carol.
Interesting is, yeah. Oh my gosh, wait. We needed to wait back to. Did you say Don and Carol? Is that their names?
John and Carol.
Oh, John. Sorry. Speaking of movies, I can't believe I forgot about this. Luke Grimes and I did watch this. It's on Netflix. It's called Happiness for Beginners. Ellie Kemper plays in it as well. Anyways, I loved it. It's the story about this gal. She goes on this wilderness trip. It's supposed to where you go and find yourself. And, is currently, I don't know, she was married. I don't know if I think she's in the middle of a divorce. And kind of her best guy friend that she's known ever since growing up kind of plays, how she's always seen him through this entire time is just the kid that she's grown up knowing. Well, somehow he comes on this trip with her, not intentionally with her. Like when she shows up, he's also there. And anyways, they end up falling in love and yada, yada, yada. But he plays that character. I can't remember his name, but it's by Luke Grimes. Happiness for
Luke Grimes sort of has
rom-com.
He has a face for a rom-com, doesn't he? Doesn't he look very Hallmark movie?
I don't know Hallmarky, but a good, how do I best describe? Like Luke has good kind of puppy dog eyes. Does that make sense? Where he can be made kind of sultry and this like sexy, but then at the same time can be like, oh, I don't know how I'm trying to describe it, but he has just those eyes that can go both ways.
Yeah, I think so as well. Okay, so that's 3 pretty good movies for people to see. I'm out of movie, but there are some people that are in some other Taylor Sheridan related shows coming.
Well, no, actually, Jefferson White was in a movie, Eileen. He plays Buck Warren. I can't. Yeah. And it's also a kind of a thriller as well. And I found it interesting that Kelly, Jefferson, and Kelsey, minus Luke, they're all playing more dark series. Like, I wonder, like, are we typecasting? Is it typecasting, though? I think that's the correct wording. Where you kind of peg yourself,
Jimmy,
like,
I couldn't see Jimmy
Kelly Riley ain't playing
in a thriller.
Romance.
No, that's true.
Well, not Jimmy, Jefferson White. Look up after Eileen, and he plays Buck Warren.
Kelly Riley is in one of my favorite series of all time. She's in the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, really?
And I love her in those.
Huh.
Yeah, she plays Watson's wife.
Huh.
In those.
You know who is MIA? Breckin Merrill. I don't know what he's up to. I couldn't figure it out.
And Wes Bentley has kind of disappeared.
Yeah, he's also disappeared. Mm-hmm. Jen Landon.
Ian Bohen.
Oh,
can I do Ian Bohen first?
As always, chef's kiss.
Well, Ian Bohen, a very handsome man, and you may love him more or dislike him more if you checked out at Ian Bohen on Twitter. He is a very active political commentator on Twitter. I think he says he's not on one side of the political aisle or the other. I think an objective look, though, would say that he's pretty... He leans more conservative, although he tends to trash the Republicans and the Democrats. But he's right in there. Like, he's giving him his opinions on, like, any issue of the day, and then sometimes he's even sort of inventing his own issues. He's a bit of a firebrand, I think you might call him on social media, bringing things up. But then he'll mix in, like, the occasional sports take. So Ian Bohen, I think, needs to get back to work, is what it is. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have these hot takes on politics and sports, but the man obviously needs a job right now because he's he's swallowed up in social media. Like, someone go check on him. Colby, Denham Richards, go do a welfare check on your boy.
Colby.
Because it's a lot right now from him.
I'm not. You are like Mr. Avid Twitter. Like, that is like, if I would peg you with the social media, it would be Twitter. Mine would be Instagram. And for that reason, Ian Bohen's Instagram is just different. Like, he's talking about, he's big into the charity that's Blue Star Families, and it helps inform the public about just military families and how, they're constantly moving and what that's like for them and helping them plug into communities. So that's what he's up to on Instagram.
I would guess that on a scale of 1 to 10, if we were to ask Ian Bohen how prepared he is for doomsday, he'd be at about an 8.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so that...
Probably.
I mean, good. Maybe leaning on conspiratorial is all I'm saying.
I wish that he would... I would love to meet him.
Yes.
Maybe he would...
As would I. For different reasons. Go ahead.
Moving on. Jen Landon... Well, I don't know if she's in any TV movies coming up. She is selling her Venice townhome for a whopping $1.8 million. If you wanted to know
1,900 square feet. So you can do the math on that. That's about the size of my house, and it is not worth $1.8 million.
Also love that she has been, it looked like this summer, and I don't know the terminology for it because it's not a camper and it's not a tent. It's one of the campers that can go on the bed of a truck. And it looks like she's been doing some solo traveling this past summer.
Nice.
Yeah. Adventurous soul. I don't think I could solo travel for long term like that. I need a buddy, but
right.
Good for her.
Kevin Costner has had an active summer.
Yeah, we kind of know all about Kevin Costner. Kevy, do you want to touch that one?
He got a divorce. You might have heard a little bit about it. It was pretty high profile. His lawyers ended up taking his now ex-wife to school in the courtroom, and he got most of what he wanted. She still got a ton of money in alimony, and his kids are well taken care of, as is she. But on from better news from Kevin and more professional news, his band, The Modern West, has started to do a little bit of touring here and there. And then also, as of earlier this month, early October, he released the dates and a short teaser for his new film series, Horizon. We now know that part 1 of that is going to drop on June 28th of next year, and part 2 is going to drop on August 16th. This is in theaters. The teaser was only like 20 seconds, but I was intrigued. I was engaged, very much building on what we saw him as in Yellowstone. I think it's for a similar fan base, but it looks strong.
Also, sorry, y'all, if you can you hear that noise, Billy? Hopefully not. Anyways, my laundry's on rinse cycle. I just didn't realize how loud it was.
It's just a quiet gushing.
Sorry, everyone. If you hear noise, it's the lunchroom's not even close. But anyways, the last person that I have on my list, you might have more, is Ryan Bingham. He's been in the country music, I'd say, Americana scene for a minute. He's been there. For a while. His last EP was out in August, called "Watch Out for the Wolf." I don't think he's done. I think he's recently announced a tour. Wait, no, not a tour. He's performing somewhere. Let me look back up.
Luke Grimes and Ryan Bingham would be a great tour pairing.
Totally.
That would be for a lot of reasons, like musically, like they're very in sync. And obviously they share a similar fan base. They could probably sell some larger venues. They should do that, actually.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be really smart. And someone who, I think like a good crew would be like a Corey Kent, Corey Asbury, who's more Christian's side of things. But him and I think Ryan seem to be friends, at least via social media.
Oh, is that right?
I think that whole crew would do, yeah. Or no, sorry, it's Luke Grimes that he's good friends with. I knew he was commenting hardcore on some of them. I don't know, maybe he's just a fan. But anyways, yeah, I don't have anything
right
else
up on the
for...
oh, all right. You were right up on the microphone. I thought you had another epiphany you were about to bring me. But no, it's just... Okay, well, I have 2 more short ones, then you can get to Cole Hauser. Okay. Does that work?
Oh, yeah.
Mo Brings Plenty, who plays Mo on Yellowstone. He's going to be in the new Bass Reeves movie, our television show we've talked about. That starts on Sunday on Paramount Plus. And Gil Birmingham is going to be in the next Wind River movie, Wind River, the next chapter. He was in the original as well. And if you're a fan of Yellowstone, you might recognize Wind River. This is kind of like the movie that Taylor Sheridan made prior to Yellowstone, but it sort of connects him to this series. A number of cast members were in it, including Gil Birmingham and Kelsey Asbill.
Eat. All right, Cole Hauser. Outside of recently being in my hometown of Austin, Texas for the Formula One race, which I don't know, does he live in Texas?
He must. And because of what he's got lined up professionally.
Y'all, he just opened in San Angelo, Texas, a coffee shop. It's called... is it Rain Coffee Company? Wait, there's a word before that, and I don't.
Free Rain Coffee.
Okay, there you go. I was like, I just put FRE, and I was like, what was that supposed to say? Free Rain Coffee Company. But it gets even cooler. He has his own coffee brand. Like, it's not only a coffee shop, it's a coffee brand, and he has 6 different blends of coffee. He's a coffee connoisseur, and I just didn't know it.
Have you looked at the prices for a 12-ounce bag of Free Rain coffee?
No. Are they pricey?
I was a little skeptical of his coffee exploits to begin with, because it says it promises to be coffee that fuels dreams, which seems to be a little bit ambitious. He says he wants to capture the spirit of the American West with flavors like American Dirt. And I don't know if you've ever heard about cowboy coffee, but cowboy coffee was never really known for being like the tastiest of coffees. That's kind of like improvised coffee out on the range. So I don't know what he's going for there, but a 12-ounce bag of Cole Hauser's free reign coffee will set you back $15.99 plus shipping.
But look how beautiful this man looks.
You know that's photoshopped. That he's not standing. He's probably standing on some green screen somewhere, and they just threw a couple of weeds in front of him.
That's him. You can't Photoshop that. That's all I'm talking about. I don't care about. It's a gray background.
What kind of coffee do you buy at the house?
Get up and get after it. I just do plain cold brew.
Okay, but does it have a brand name?
Chameleon Cold Brew.
Folgers or Chameleon Cold Brew?
I don't know.
I'm familiar with that.
I don't know if Folgers makes cold brew, but Chameleon Cold Brew. Shout out Chameleon. It is Austin local. Are you looking it up?
I'm definitely going to check the price of that right now to see how bougie Adison is with her coffee.
Yeah. Okay. No. Hold on.
Are you getting paid for this podcast more than me? What is happening? 1717 for a 32
I knew that was going to come out.
Bottle of it.
Okay, number one, I don't drink it every day. Number two, you have to dilute it. Number three, I do not buy it full price. I get it when it only goes on sale. If not, I don't drink it. So let me preface all of that.
It is concentrated.
It is concentrated. I think there's normally
you get 8 servings.
Yes, and normally I won't do a full serving just for heart palpitations and all the above. I'll do half of a serving. So really I get 16 out of it.
That's a very bougie coffee, Adison.
It is bougie. It is bougie, and I don't drink it all the time. If I'm doing normal, I'll still do like cold brew, but literally just whatever is the cheapest at HEB. It's your version of Publix. HEB is like y'all's Publix.
Gotcha. What's my version? What's your version of Kroger? Your version of Aldi? Do they have those there in Austin? Like, what's the Save a Lot? What's the Save a Lot coffee?
Yeah. No.
That's about where I am with 3 kids.
No, and yes, Kroger and believe me, let's just say my chameleon will not always be a thing once some things change. But there's Kroger and Aldi here in Texas, but HEB is still like they have their own brand of stuff, which I think Kroger does too. But their coffee ends up being pretty cheap. Their cold brew. It's like their own label.
I had recently started splurging on Javalia coffee, and I was feeling pretty good about myself, but I am nowhere near free reign coffee prices. That's going to be a while before I get there. So.
In a disclaimer to me, everything else I don't buy name brand. It'd be like the AGB version. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We all have our things, Billy.
Fair enough. That's it for the cast. That's all I have. Do we want to? Yeah. Do we want to? One comment from a fan before we get to trivia, who reminded us that Jimmy's barrel racer girlfriend's name was Mia. We were blinking on that last week. I literally remembered it as soon as we posted the video in the podcast. I shouted Mia, but no one was here to listen to me.
Mamma Mia! On that note, trivia. Let's do it.
At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's learning environments are designed for supportive networking and collaboration. With over 330 academic programs, GCU provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Find your purpose at GCU. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
Trivia. Last week's trivia question was pretty straightforward and simple. What is Avery's job at the Yellowstone? She is the newest member of the Yellowstone team. She's in the bunkhouse, first woman in the bunkhouse. Rip finds her at the strip club, and she has some horse experience. Classic. And that works out well because she is the horse trainer or the horse groomer. The groomer is what I was looking for. And a big congratulations to, I believe his name was Cole, who explains that she talks about how they break any horse they have. And he asks, can I get a woot woot on the podcast? Buddy, you can get much more than that. My man, congratulations. Woot woot. This is your day. You are our trivia winner for knowing all about Avery, that good looker, and that horse whisperer, I think you might call her. Where the trivia correct answer today is your day, my friend. A windfall of money, enough money for you to buy Chameleon coffee, is awaiting for you right around the corner.
And for anyone who's just listened to the podcast, I hardcore just gave Billy Dukes an eye roll. But you know what is cool? And this is maybe a future guest. We'll see on that one. But I've actually met a horse whisperer before.
Oh, that's a real thing.
It's when I went to Montana.
Oh. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
all right. This week's trivia question. During season 2, episode 1, Monica tries to get a job at the university and reveals that her last name used to be Longspear, but it was changed after her father was forced to go to a Catholic school. Why does this sound familiar? That is the question. Staff at tasteofcountry.com with the correct answer or any other comments, questions, or corrections about this week's episode of the podcast. Do you know? You should know.
Nope. No, I don't.
Yeah, you should know.
Wah, 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 wah. Okay. Should we wrap it up, Billy?
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up. I'm waiting for you.
Okay. All right. I was delaying a little bit because I realized I didn't have a word to end our podcast. If anyone is just now realizing, as I close every episode, Billy and I kind of have this game where I try to come up with a new word every time, and either he's elated or he's very disappointed. I think last week last week was fine. It was the week before you were disappointed.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to go with the first one that comes on into my brain.
Let me buy you some time. Let me buy you a little bit of time.
Okay.
Let me buy you some time. You can this podcast or give us a review on Apple Podcast. Of course, we prefer a 5-star rating as well. You can do the same on Spotify, and you can also subscribe to us now on YouTube and watch. You can see our beautiful faces and interact with us in the comment sections as well. We publish weekly there. Next week, we're going to be talking about Bass Reeves, as well as maybe a couple of episodes of Yellowstone. And we'll kind of continue with Bass Reeves as fans continue to be sort of interested in it. It looks like a pretty exciting series debuting on Sunday, so we'll have a lot to say about that as well. Now, Adison, I've given you 20 seconds. Knock me over.
Well, y'all, the Yellowstone, Dutton Rules Yellowstone podcast is another compelling Town Square Media podcast.
Well, that's not bad. Not bad.
And on that note, my laundry's done. Do you hear? Perfect timing. Thanks, y'all, for listening.
I'm so done with you today.